All right, we'll go ahead and get started with 2017 Canyon Lake Hawks. And before I start talking about the record-breaking season, I just want to recognize these guys sitting up here, our coaching staff. I truly... The continuity we've had the last 5-6 years, and I truly believe they're the best coaching staff here, not only in the district, but the area. And I'll tell you this much, there's two great qualities they all possess. They care for your kids, first and foremost, and secondly, they love winning football games, in that order. So I just want to give them another round of applause. As you probably know, they spend more time with your son probably than you do during football season, especially this year, and it included the Thanksgiving break and on into December, which is a good thing. So I appreciate that, and that leads me to the parents. Tremendous support. Thanks for sharing your boys with us this magical season. It was special. I want to recognize a special group of parents that went above and beyond the call of duty. You notice I have these football helmets on, or out here. They have their son's number on it, and I'll go ahead and introduce them. And the parents, you can collect these after. I don't think all the boys have signed them, but after the award ceremony is over, feel free to take it home. First of all, the Ferrises. The Ferrises. Every Thursday, after our walkthrough film session, etc., they brought food. We had a team meal, a lot of camaraderie up in the home ec building. They did that every week, and we appreciate it, and your son's helmet will be for you after the award ceremony. Next set of parents, the St. John's. Again, like the Ferrises, been tremendous supporters of the football program, and hopefully, Howard, you'll take care of that tunnel from years to come. But he did a great job. He took ownership, and he was like clockwork with that thing. Even when we were playing in the Alamo Dome a few years ago, that thing had a meltdown, and he fixed it just like that. So appreciate that. Next, the Roughs. You may not know, we bring up the varsity every Saturday morning, flush them out, get the soreness out, watch the game film, try and improve on what we messed up on. And every Saturday, the Roughs showed up with their cooker, fed the boys after the film session. So really appreciate that. There'll be a helmet up here for you. Next, the Martellis. Not only is Corey the voice of the Hawks, but the Martellis helped organize car washes during the last 2 summers and has been very instrumental in the Hawk football program since I've been here, I believe. So there'll be a helmet up here with Chance's number on it. And finally, the Crisps. They too volunteered for the car washes during the summer, and also Mr. Crisp, you know, I got a phone call from him, and I'll talk about the first time I heard from him later on, but it's the second time I got a phone call from him. It was, I believe, the Monday before Taylor were playing for a district championship, and Mr. Crisp, unlike myself, had the, how do I say this, the cojones to set up a steak dinner, a celebratory dinner, before we actually won the district championship. And I appreciate that, and even on the tickets, and I say that, and he might deny that, but you might have had 2 sets of tickets to that thing, but the tickets said district champion on them. And I know you printed those about 5 or 6 days before. So I appreciate it, and there'll be a helmet up here for you. Thank you. And really all the parents. I mean, y'all are tremendous. You know, y'all might be at odds with us at some times, but when it comes down to it, we have your son's best interests at heart, and I think we all agree on that. It's a great group of men. And I'm not going to harp on, you know, individual stats, things like that, because really this team was the most unselfish team I've ever been around. I mean, they're the most talented team we've had at Canyon Lake, don't get me wrong. Hopefully we have some more talented teams come. But they were unselfish. As you may or may not know, we suffered more injuries this year than since I've been here in key positions. And every week we had guys stepping up, whether they were backups, JV guys we pulled up, switching positions. We went through some injuries early in the year, and I really believe it paid off. We broke the school record for a number of wins, 10 wins. We had an 8-game winning streak and our first district title. But what made that special was the turmoil, the resiliency this team had. We were 2-2 at one point. Lost 2 hard-fought ball games. We were a little beat up, but we rolled off 8 wins in a row. And that's a testament to their will. Our focus in the offseason was the slogan finish. We got so close to a district title the year before, and then ended up losing in the first round. Well, we talked about winning a district title. We talked about not only getting to the playoffs, but making noise in the playoffs. And we did all that. And 3 victories really sum up this team. The Bernie game. You know, funny story, you know, they're coming in, we're 5-2. You know, everyone thinks we're okay. You know, Bernie's 7-0. They're ranked about 7th or 8th in the state. I get a call Tuesday or Wednesday from Fox Southwest. They want to feature our game on the little highlight deal where they interview the winning coach. Well, they had called Coach Dormandy first, and it wasn't Craig Way. It was the other guy with the goofy hair. And he said, Coach Drum, just in case y'all pull the upset, you know, I want to get a picture and we're going to be calling you on your cell phone. And I just kind of laughed. I said, just in case. I go, it's going to be a ball game, you know, and he backtracked, of course. Oh, yeah, I know, Coach, I know. But that Bernie game was the arrival of the 2017 Hawks. We got healthier, but we went out and dominated a state-ranked ball club. And it got us on a roll all the way to the next ball game, Taylor. Team we've had a lead on the 3 years before. You know, and I found out in the offseason they're building a new stadium, but wasn't going to be ready in time. I find out they're going to have all this hoopla. It's been there for, I played high school football there. It's been there for 100 years. So they're calling up all these people to come. Those y'all were there know what kind of circus it was. I'm like, oh man, we've had trouble with these guys before. You know, this is going to be tough. Well, our kids were not phased. We go up 7-0 at half, 14-0, and here comes Taylor, just like they had in years past. In the third quarter, they scored pretty quick. 2 touchdowns, it's 14-14. The place is hopping. I see all these alumni everywhere, chest bumping, things like that. Well, we went out and just dominated them in the fourth quarter to win our first district title. Canyon Lake history. And after that, after a hard-fought first-round game with a very, very good Gatesville team, the Pleasanton game. You know, we came out, we weren't playing horrible, but we weren't playing like we had been the last, you know, 7 weeks. You know, we're down 10-7 at halftime, and our kids, you know, we talked about, it just happened, one of our goals was to play football in December. What that means is you're competing for a state championship. Usually there's games in 2 weeks in December. It just happened this week, or this year, 3 years. Well, it just happened that if we beat Pleasanton, we'll be playing December 1st the next week. So, you know, we challenged our kids at halftime. We didn't change really anything. We went out and basically dominated them physically. We're 21 unanswered points to clinch our first second round area championship. You know, I know we didn't win the next week, but we accomplished so many goals that we had set out. We had a great off season talking about finishing, talking about winning a district title, talking about playing in December, and we did all that. We put ourselves in position for the first time to compete for a state championship, and that is huge for a program. So, and I just want to say a few things. A few guys that I respect and been around. Coach Monzengo, who almost died about a year ago, former head coach here, former athletic director, Comal ISD, he made it out for the first time since, you know, Christmas before last. He's on his deathbed. We don't know if he's going to make it. You know, he goes to the Smithson Valley game. You know, they get beat. He comes over to our game and watches the whole thing. He's having a blast. And what he tells me after the game, and this kind of sums up our team, and I got this from referees, opposing coaches. He said he has never seen as physical football team in his life that did things the right way. And what I mean by that is when you're knocking the snot out of someone, whether you're on offense or defense, you're not standing over them. You're helping them back up. You know what? When they blow that whistle again, I'm knocking them on their rear end again. He said he saw so many pancakes, hard hits, and our kids helping them back up. And he's like, the darndest thing, they're doing the same thing again. So that was a huge compliment from a guy who's been a head coach for over 20 years. So that was real special. And the other one you may or may not know, my dad passed away the night before the La Vega game. And he wasn't able to see a lot of games this year, but he knew a lot of guys. A lot of these guys have been starting 2 or 3 years. But he played football at Nebraska in the 60s. And he used to sit in my office when he couldn't get around. He used to love watching us play. And what he used to always say every week, you know, if we lost, it's, you know, what happened or well, what'd you do, things like that. But he used to say, you know, who you playing next week? So-and-so. Y'all are going to physically punish them, aren't you? He was so impressed with that. It's back, and I think football is getting back to that a little bit, where it's just mano-a-mano. We're getting after each other, and my dad loved that, and he knew I loved this team. And I just want to thank you guys, because he deteriorated a lot during the season, the coaches and the players. I appreciate it. Thank you. And y'all go ahead and stand up, the whole team. Go ahead. You know, before we get to a lot of the individual awards, you know, and I'm going to tell you what I told you after La Vega, you know, and I'll reiterate this with the seniors at the end. But, you know, I was disappointed we lost, but what I'm going to miss most is watching this team play. And like I mentioned before, you played the game the right way, and you did it on and off the field. We didn't have hardly any grade problems, hardly any classroom behavioral problems, and you took care of business on the field. And I appreciate that, and I want everyone to give a big hand to the 2017 district, by-district, and area champions.
Y'all can sit down.
Starts at the top, Charlie.
Yeah, it starts right here and right there. We'll go ahead and get with the awards. I'm sure these coaches have a lot to say about these kids. They love your kids. They have. Most of them have been playing varsity for us for quite a while. But we're going to go ahead and get started, which was very impressive. We have 20-something academic all-district. To achieve academic all-district, You have to have a 90 or above the first 9 weeks. And like I said, there's a bunch. And please hold your applause till the end, till they come up here. And again, this is just another example on how these guys take care of business on and off the field. So, District 14 4A Academic All District, Nick Rivera. Academic All District, Ben Fulton. Academic All District, JT Green. Academic All District, Alejandro Herrera. Academic All District, Bradley and Braden Height. Academic All District, Tanner Ferris. Academic All District, Jacob Foster. Academic All District, Tristan Chacon. Academic All District, Josh Colgan. Academic All District, Joseph Crisp. Academic All District, Braden Duke. Lester Bang. Caleb Allman. Trent Lorette. Cameron McDonough. Chance Martelli. Andrew Nelson. CJ Parrish. Parker Reno. Micah St. John. Javier Salcedo. Ross Snowden. And that's it. Very impressive group. Give those guys a hand.
Hand these out down there. Good job. Hand those out down there. Good job. You're all down there. Go ahead and out down there. Good job. Dang, what?
Like I said, we were blessed with talented football players and also, as you see, smart football players. Our next awards is for Academic All-State. This is for seniors who maintained a 92 or better average their first 3 years in high school, given away by the Texas High School Coaches Association. And there's 3 levels. There's honorable mention, second team, and first team. And first, I want to go ahead and Academic All-State, honorable mention, Braden Duke. Academic All-District, All-State, honorable mention, Cameron McDonough. Academic All-State, second team, Joseph Crisp. And these next 2 individuals weren't able to join us tonight. Their mom had to be taken to the hospital, so our thoughts and prayers are with the Heights, Bradley and Braden Height. They're all second team Academic All District. All State. All right, first team Academic All State, Lester Bain. And finally, Academic All-State, first team, Jacob Foster.
Box jump.
And another round of applause for our Academic All-State. Now I'm going to turn it over to Coach Hooper, and we'll start some of the defensive awards.
Thank you, Coach Drum. First, we'd like to thank the players who bought into what we were doing since day one last spring. We decided to change a few things on defense this year, and they showed a great desire to learn and improve themselves week after week. Our motto was swarm and finish. That's something we talk about often, okay? Every practice and, of course, every game. As coaches, that's one of the main things we look for when we're watching film on Saturday. Hopefully, when you're watching our games this year, hopefully you saw that throughout the year. Along with several other accomplishments that Coach Drum talked about, the team accomplished something that hasn't been done since 2009, and that's averaged less than 20 points per game. For the season, we averaged 18.8, and district play, we averaged 17.5. I say team because our offense has a lot to do with that, of course. Taking time off the clock, for example, the Bernie game, it's really easy to play defense when the offense is on the sideline and they get frustrated. So that's a heck of a job. Again, it hasn't been done since 2009. Second, I'd like to say we got a great staff, just like Coach Drum mentioned, who really put the time and effort to make each of our players the best they can be at their position. And I think the players would say the same. Coach Means, our safety coach. Coach Tierney, who couldn't be here tonight, he's our corners coach. His little boy's 6, so he had to stay home. Coach Hodges, our defensive ends coach, and Coach Almanza, our DTs. They're a great group of men to coach with and great leaders of the team and of the school. As a result from our team's success this year, coaches from our district voted for several of our players in district honors. And to start off, it's going to be Coach Almanza who is going to introduce the D tackles.
All right. You know, this group of seniors is very special to me because they were the freshmen whenever I first started working here. So they hold a special place in my heart, and it's sad to see them go, but it was an honor to have coached all of them. You know, and we've had our goods, our bads. I've yelled at a couple of them, especially when they were seniors. They remember or when they were freshmen. They remember the stories. When I first got here, you know, I was assigned the defensive tackle coach, and I had maybe one good defensive tackle, and the rest were scraps. You know, all the good offensive linemen or defensive tackles played offensive line, and you know, so I would try to you know, gather some guys, develop some guys on the defensive side, and you know, we'd develop one, and then he'd get taken away for the offensive side, Foster, and then we'd develop another one, and then he'd get taken away too. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And they're like, well, coach, he's the only quick tackle we got. I'm like, well, you got 4 other guys that can play, but they're like, no, but he's the only quick tackle. I'm like, okay. So, you know, I started, what do I do to keep guys playing on the defensive side? So I came up, and only the defensive side, or some of the guys know this, but I came up with my own names for my tackles. The bull tackle and the moose tackle, named after our favorite off-season competition, the bull moose competition. So this first guy, he's the moose. He was the moose tackle. He started a couple years for me. He's undersized, but you know, he really played his heart out. Out of all the defensive tackles that I've coached, he's the most savvy. He's in the right place at the right time. You know, he just gets the job done. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't complain, but he just played the position so well. You know, and I'm sure opposing coaches would look at the defensive line and see Sam Shepard standing across from their, you know, 250-plus pound offensive tackle and be like, we're just going to cream this guy. And he split a double team better than anybody. He had just a knack for the ball. I mean, he had about 45-plus tackles this season. So, second team, all district, Sam Shepard. This next guy, he was the immovable force, or the immovable object. But quick story. I remember one of my first encounters with him was, coaching him a couple of games into his freshman year. I remember when we played Dripping Springs at Dripping Springs, we played like their C team or something, and I remember getting on to CJ about getting off a block, and he started crying. He said that he was getting held, but you were a freshman. It's okay. And so we talked about it, and yelled at him not to make that kind of excuse and not to let the offensive guy let him hold it and so forth. But he came along, and he ended up being a great player for us. And the other coaches in the district took notice. First team, unanimous, all district, bull tackle, CJ Parrish. Next is Coach Hodges with the defensive ends.
Need some tissue?
Hey, here one more time. Take some tissue.
I had the privilege of coaching defensive ends. I've done that for several years. After my first year here, this is my 10th overall, my 9th year of coaching defensive line or defensive ends. And I've never had more of a privilege and an honor to do so. I've got 7 defensive ends that played for us this year. And 6 of them, if I'm counting right, 6 of them are seniors. So we've had them for 4 years, and they've been part of my life for that long. And so, there's all kinds of support systems. The support system is truly a system. You've got parents, you've got grandparents, you've got friends, you've got coaches, and the most important system for football-wise, playing the game, is the teammates, the position that they play. Even narrowed down even further, the position that they play is truly a family in itself. I just want to mention all these guys' names. There's only one coming back, JT Green. He's got a heck of a load to bear. Javier Saucedo, Bradley Height that couldn't be here. We're sorry he's not here. Andrew Nelson. Joseph Chris, when we could steal him, Richard Rosas, and Ross Snowden. Truly an honor. And of course, I'm here to announce the individual awards that were voted on by the coaches of the district. But these guys would not have been there had it not been for that immediate family support that they had, the other players that were involved. So it's really, any competitor would tell you that same thing. This honor that they're receiving is not because of what they did individually, it's about what the team did. And it's really on those days where nobody else is looking at them. When we're at practice, at 6 o'clock in the morning, not a whole lot of fanfare at practice at 6 o'clock in the morning, I guarantee you that. But those guys are there pushing each other. And these 2 individuals I'm about to mention are here because of that system. A lot has changed. When I coach somebody over 4 years, something changes in me. This guy here, I've been coaching for 4 years, and 4 years ago I did not need glasses. people age in different ways. All right, but Richard, don't take. I'm not vulnerable. All right, I'm not vulnerable. I just got to wear glasses. All right, but I'll still take it. All right. Richard was voted on. He's receiving this honor for the district, voted from the coaches. He had 43 tackles, 11 for loss. He had a sack. I know he probably won more than the sack that he had, but he was part of it. Fumbles caused. He had 2 of those, and believe it or not, Richard, you see him when he gets up here, he got a pass breakup. All right, he got off the ground, about that far. And the older Richard gets, just like anybody else, does my mic go off?
What? Need a new battery.
Nope, you're exceeding your time limit.
Sorry. The older he gets, the higher he would have jumped. I'm sure that's the case. But he was voted on District 14-4A, second team defensive end by our district. Give it up to Richard. Watch him now.
I'm going to miss being a swingman.
All right, so next young man, when he, most of his life playing football, did not play defensive end. He was a linebacker for us. We had to find a place where he could play. So, they said they give it, Coach Almanza couldn't get it done probably, so they gave it to me. Coach Almanza already spoke, so he's not going to be back up here. So, but we had an idea we might have something with him when he was a junior. Played Blanco, about took the quarterback's head off. So he just needed a little bit more honing down. I'm serious. I don't know how that guy kept his head on. He's spin all the way around. But this young man, I've never coached a team. I've been, like I said, 21 years where we've had a defensive lineman lead the team in tackles. That's Ross Snowden with 86. 24 of those are tackles for loss. He had 8 sacks, 1 fumble caused, and he did get up for his pass breakup. Ross Snowden, first team all-district defensive end. While Ross is coming, Coach Hooper will be introducing the linebackers.
Here you go, Ross.
As you can see, we have a lot of fun up on the stage and the players as well. Talk louder. Are you talking my coaching voice? Okay. All right. As a defense, we're lucky to have several guys, just like the defensive ends, defensive tackles, that contributed to the team as far as linebackers go. This year, it's a little different for us. We went from 3 linebackers to 2 linebackers. But we had a bunch of great ones this year that contributed, okay? We're lucky to have several guys, just like Coach Hodges said, that would show up to work every day and push each other. We had some injuries. The other guys had to step up. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And guys that are more of an offensive player, step up in practice and get everybody else better, okay? Of course, Parkerino, Grayson Lee, Michael Hartwell, Nick McCormick, Micah St. John. Okay, yeah, Micah St. John. Hey, it's big, just like Coach said. He played a key role in getting everybody else ready. And of course, he's ready to go if need be. The first young man I'm going to talk about, I've had the great pleasure to coach this young man for 4 years in several sports. He's always shown up with a great attitude and great effort, and he's a team-first guy. And the thing about this young man, I can scream and I can yell. One thing as a coach, I'm kind of going different places, is you got to understand your players as far as who you can scream at, who you can't, basically. And this young man, I could always scream at. Hey, what are you doing? Yes, sir, I'll get it done. He's that type of player. And I really enjoyed coaching him. And he really stepped up this year and contributed in several different ways. He played, okay, there we go. Thanks, Coach. He played key roles on defense. And he's one of our best players on special teams as well, which is a big part of our success this year. This young man earned district honorable mention, and that's Michael Hartwell. All right. Okay, next up. This young man we're very excited to have back next year, another year. He started for us last year as a sophomore. He struggled with injuries earlier this year, early in the season. Got hurt, I believe, like the second or the first drive on the Wimberley game. He was able to get healthy enough and played, of course, a key role in our district run. He's one of our Mike linebackers, and the big thing about Mike linebacker, he's got to be very confident, very smart, get the front call, and get us lined up. He's making a lot of adjustments as far as before the snap goes, and of course he did a great job for us, and he's going to continue doing a great job for us. He works hard in the weight room. If you see us working out during fourth period, he gets after. He's one of our stronger kids. And of course, we can't wait to see how he'll become as a senior. This young man earned second team all-district linebacker, and that's Grayson Lee.
He's got another year.
He's got another year. All right. Okay, this next young man, go ahead. That's fine. I've had the honor to coach this young man for the last 4 years, and just like I said before, I really got to know this young man, and he's been a starter since his sophomore year. Now, looking at this young man, of course, you might not think that, especially as a linebacker. He's always been an undersized, but he's always had a great heart. Along with that, he has a great nose for the football. If you're going to play linebacker, you got to have the nose for the football. Play sideline to sideline. And it's very interesting. He's always had the ability to time blitzes. Now, there's a lot of times when I think he's going to go and before the snap, and I have a heart attack, or we have a heart attack a lot of times. The majority of the time, he makes it happen. And some of those times they called a penalty and he wasn't offsides, but anyway, he was that good at it. He's grown up a lot over the years, and I'm sure going to miss him. We're sure going to miss him next season. and he's obviously going to be honored, or was honored from the district, and he earned first team all-district linebacker. That's Parkerino. He's next.
The secondary.
And while he's coming up, Coach Means is going to come up with the secondary. Get your secretary. Come here. I get that too.
That'll be our game day shoes next year.
Sorry about that.
All right, real quick. This year I coach the secondary. I've coached the secondary since I've arrived at Canyon Lake, and I'm old, and I think I get older every year. And then they say, "Well, we're going to do it this way," and I'm like, "Well, we did it that way," and they said, "Do it this way." And I said, "Yes, sir." So we did some things a little different, and the truth is, it made us a whole lot better. And I learned a lot from Coach Hooper this year, and he brought in more coverages in 1 year than I think I've coached in 21 years. So I was excited about that, and Coach Tierney did a great job. I wish he could be here tonight. He coached our corners. Coach Tierney took great ownership in that and great pride, and he took some guys under his wing and taught them things that I didn't know they could do. These two guys were honored by our district in being both, one was considered second team all-district and the other was considered honorable mention all-district. I would like both of them to come up because I was going to tell a little bit more about them because it's impressive when you see them together. Honorable mention all-district was Lester Bain. The reason I want them both to come up here is because you'll see why nobody threw the ball against us this year. This other gentleman was honored as being second team all-district by the coaches in our district. It's Kamen McDonough. These two gentlemen together accounted for 78 total tackles. They had roughly 13 pass breakups, and these guys with our other secondary accounted for 6 interceptions, 2 fumble calls, 2 fumble recoveries. Now, if you look, we come on, you walk on by, they see now. The big part about these guys was every week we'd scratch our head and go, how are we going to cover that guy that's 6'5"? And they said, oh, thanks. Get those guys. You got to get those. They said, how are we going to cover that kid that's 6'5"? And I said, Coach, we got 6'4" and 6'6" out there. When they put the helmets and cleats on, they won't throw it over there one time. And it proved to be true. Those guys did an outstanding job for us this year. Give them a hand. Again, talking about the secondary, we rotate. We have a 5-spoke secondary, which means we have 5 guys back there. We have a corner on both sides, of course. We have a strong safety, a weak safety, and we have a guy we call the rover. And Coach said, we're gonna line this guy up at rover, and he's going to be real good. And I said, I don't know, Coach. People throw the ball a lot. And he said, this guy's going to be good. And I said, well, Coach, they throw the ball a lot. And he said, don't worry. This guy's going to be good. This gentleman right here accounted for 60 tackles. He was a part of some of those interceptions and a part of some of those fumble recoveries. He was voted as second team all-district, and that would be Lee Stafford. As Lee makes his way up here, I'll just tell you a couple more things about him. I think that when you step on the field, sometimes people point and they go, that's him. And then they point and Coach said, that's him. And I said, yeah, that's him. And they said, that's the guy that we were worried about. He's going to get after you every play. And Lee Stafford did that this season for us. Congratulations, Lee. No backflips. Last up. Again, between our secondary, we totaled together all the secondaries. Neil came up and played for us midway through the year and filled in greatly. We had 248 total tackles. And the guy that was instrumental was the guy that on Tuesday morning when Coach Tierney and I would mess up what Coach Hooper wanted to have done, this guy would make it right. And it didn't matter what we said. And he said, no, Coach, that's not what we need to run. We're going to run this coverage. I said, okay, if that, yeah, you're right. So he would change the coverage for us from time to time, and he was always right. And this gentleman was voted first team all-district. He had 69 tackles, and he made us great football coaches every Friday night, and that's Trenton Lorette. We're excited about having Trenton back next year. Again, he gives you a whole nother dimension when you have a kid on the field that knows as much as you do as the coach, and he can make adjustments for you in the secondary as the game goes on. He can come to the sideline and tell you what you're doing right, and he can certainly adjust the coverage on anybody we play. We're proud to have him. He's done a great job for our football program. I want to turn it over to Coach Moses and the offense.
Thank you, Coach Means. First of all, I want to, I felt like Coach Amanja kind of attacked the offense a while ago. I just want to reiterate that a good defense is a good offense. And Coach Hodges, that one returner you have, he's playing offense. Offensively this year, it was really a lot of fun to coach these guys because most of the guys that we had offensively, it wasn't our first year coaching them. We'd been coaching them for 2 or 3 years. We had tons of experience and knowledge of what we do and what our philosophy is. And since day one, this group of young men have bought into that, understanding that we are one unit and that 3 yards is a good play. Coach Drum talked about the Bernie game as being a turning point or a huge focal point of the season. I agree. Bernie did a good job defensively. I think they did too good of a job. They stopped us every play for 3 yards, and that kept our offense on the field for 39 minutes out of a 48-minute game. That is by far a record for me running this offense. We're ball control. Never once have we even come close to having a 39-minute possession in one game. But again, it's a testament to our players and believing in what we do and executing and being coached, and our coaching staff as well. And to do the things we do, our offensive line everything goes through them. And with the group we had this year, we had 4 offensive seniors on the offensive line, and all 4 of them are academic all-state. We had so much fun coaching them because we can make so many different adjustments. We can block the same play 5 different ways to give the defenses 100 different looks to block. But for us, it's the same play. But for a defense, when preparing for us, it's not the same play. They got to prepare for each different way we block something. So again, I've enjoyed those seniors. Our coaching staff, Coach Green, coaches our strong side. Coach Barthels coaches our quick side. Coach Lancaster coaches our swing man, our strong ends. And Coach Escamilla, which is new to us, coaches our backs. Again, we've been together, most of us. Coach Escamilla is our first year, but we've been together for 3 or 4 years. We kind of, in our meetings, they don't last long anymore because we kind of already know what we got to do because we've been working together so long. On this year, we set a school record for most yards in a season. And again, it goes to the commitment to what we do offensively. We had 13 all-district honors. Only 11 guys play at one time. And we had 13 offensive all-district honors. The first all-district honor is going to go to a young man who has had injuries, not only this year, but in the years past, has always started the year with opening the coach's eyes, saying, wow, we can do a lot of different things with him. He's going to be a big player, but then he'll have a little setback. And then eventually he overcomes it and becomes a key player later in the season. And this goes to honorable mention, running back Jacob Ruff. Jacob's a junior. He's working real hard right now in the off season. He's participating in powerlifting. He's running track workouts. He's got to get in shape because he's going to carry the ball a lot next year. Our next honor is a young man who has really developed from his freshman year and really has never been in a, I guess you would say, a starring role or prominent role, but has always been there. I don't ever remember him missing a practice, and was always working out with the second team, you know, since, like I said, since he was a freshman. But again, with the injuries we had this year, we had to step up, and he stepped up and played a major role in what we did and really came through in some big ball games. And honorable mention, all-district running back Joseph Ruiz. The next award I'm going to give is to a young man that I have thoroughly enjoyed coaching for the last 4 years. He's the most reliable, the most accountable player I've ever coached. You always knew what you were going to get from him, because no matter what, you turn around, he's there. He's listening. You know, you holler for him, and he's like magic right in front of your face. He's ready to go. You never question what you're going to get. He gave 100% at all times. You know, last year during track season, someone told me he wasn't going to run track. Well, coach, he's not that fast. I know that, but I just like being around him. I want him around us because he's positive always. And again, I'm going to miss being around him. All district second team running back, Micah St. John. Sorry about that. I coach with a lot of passion. The next award goes to a young man that's, again, I've gotten close to. I've yelled at him a lot. He's taken it very well. The older he got, the better he responded. He didn't respond too well when he was a younger player, but has grown up and become a very strong young man. And I believe when he gets a job and he does something wrong in his job, or his wife scolds him, he'll be able to handle those things. You know, this was another proud moment when, you know, we go to those all-district meetings. You know, you get around those other coaches, you kind of realize how much respect those other coaches have for what we do and what our kids do and what they accomplish. In the voting, he was with the quarterback from Bernie, and 3 coaches voted for our quarterback. Only 2 coaches voted for their quarterback. Second team all-district quarterback, Ben Fulton. Next award I'm going to give is, again, a young man. I keep saying that hard worker. You know, I could say that about every one of these young men up here is the work ethic that they have and the leadership qualities they have. You know, it comes from great parenting, high expectations. I've never been anywhere where we have so many kids that work so hard. Usually you've got a handful of kids that you've got to constantly be on about motivating, about what's good for you, how to work and how to achieve. But again, this is just another young man that works hard. He could probably play any position in the backfield that we have, whether he's practiced it or not. I could probably put him in the game and say, hey, go to tailback. And he could execute good enough to get us through a ball game. He's smart, he's intelligent, he listens, and he works hard. And we got him 1 more year. First team all-district running back, Tristan Chacon. This is another one of those proud moments as a coach and as a coaching staff. You don't get very many opportunities, again, when we go to these all-district meetings, that you have a most valuable player voted on by not you, but your peers and the people you compete against. It says a lot about our program. It says a lot about how we do things. Again, it's a young man that's been playing for us for 3 years. He's had some ups and downs. He's made great plays for us. We're going to miss, you know, I'm going to miss, you know, anytime we needed a big play, hey, we're going to start an 8-hole reverse. It had nothing to do with the lineman. I just wanted the ball in his hands, you know. But most valuable player, offensive player of the year is Tanner Ferris. You need this. All right, next, Coach Green will give out his awards.
I coach the offensive line with Coach Bartels. Coach Almanza, Coach Tierney, and I, we all got here 4 years ago with the charge of coaching 44 wide-eyed young freshmen. And Coach Drum, when we came in, he talked to me quite a bit. He said, this is going to be the group. This is going to be the group. And he was right. And sitting in here before you right now, we got 26 of those seniors that made it all the way through.
their freshman year, we preached day in and day out about pursuing greatness, right? And we talked about how pursuing greatness isn't always easy, or isn't always, it's simple, but it's not always easy, okay? It's simple to get it done, but it's not always easy. And they did a great job, and 26 of them persevered, right, through 6 o'clock practices, boot camp, all those things, and they're sitting in front of you today. And in a society where it's all too easy to quit, they stuck through, right? And, you know, quitting is too easy. It's too easy to quit your job, to quit playing football, quit your marriage, or quit your parental responsibilities. But you guys stuck through, and it's going to carry you. It's going to carry you, and it's going to make your parents proud. It already has, okay? There's probably not a position group, but I'm biased, that personifies that, you know, carrying out greatness and pursuing greatness like the offensive line. You know, as a group, they've committed more to the things that we've asked them to do than any group I've coached in 20 years. They're committed in the weight room. They're committed in the classroom. They all got academic all-state. They're committed in the locker room. They do all the things that we ask them to do. And it's a testament to their parents. And I couldn't have been more proud to coach them, and I'm happy that you guys afforded me that opportunity. That leads me into an individual that kind of epitomizes what we're talking about. Jacob has been bestowed with the unanimous first-team All-District offensive line, and he's been an absolute pleasure to coach. I hope that the underclassmen have been paying attention because he's modeled what it means to be a champion. He's handled his business in the classroom. He's there before school or after school getting his weights in. Those are the things that got to get done, and he's done them really well. I know I've personally asked my son to pay attention, and I'm hoping that everybody else is paying attention because it goes a long way. It's going to go a long way in life. For the next 4 years, he'll be making us all proud at the U.S. Air Force Academy. I've got no doubt that whatever challenge is laid before this young man, he's going to be successful. I just hope he doesn't forget to have fun playing football while he's doing it. Jacob Foster, first-team All-District. I will tell you that. There was one game I was ready to go out there and play the second half after hearing his halftime speech. Then I remembered I was 42. No problem.
And he scored a touchdown.
And he scored a touchdown. Even
After he fell down on his face.
Our next recipient is, you know, just as much fun to be around. He is certainly a gym rat. I'll talk about his muscles having muscles. I'm excited to say that he, unlike most of you guys, is still going to be here next year. He came to us 2 years ago and we immediately put a bunch on his shoulders, and they're big enough to hold it up. And I have no doubt he's going to work his butt off, and he's going to keep doing those things we need him to do, but his charge kind of changes for next year. He's losing a room full of leaders, and he's going to have to step up, and he's going to have to show these younger guys what it means to be in the weight room, what it means to take care of their class business, all things that he does. Josh Allman, first-team All-District. I'm just glad he wore that and not the romper he was talking about in third period.
Do it.
All right, as Coach Green said, he and I work together coaching this O-line, and
I've been coaching O-line for many years, and this has been one of the most fun groups of guys that I've worked with. I call them the big uglies. They're one of the first groups that I've worked with that while we're warming up every game, I probably told them some things I shouldn't have, but it would be, a lot of times it was like, holy cow, I'm a big dude and y'all scare me. Okay, we had some big old boys. This next young man that I'm going to talk about has been working his tail off since day one. I've got to work with him a little bit while I was working with the strong side, and then this past year with the quick side. I can't remember the last time that it was that I had to correct him on a Friday night. So if anybody just happens to pay attention to what I do on the sideline, you're like, he just sits there and sends people in, and he doesn't really coach anybody. It's because I do it during the week, and then I don't have to tell them anything else. Those guys on the quick side, like Coach Moses said, you had to do it during the week, and then they took care of business on Friday night. Like I said, he and his partner in crime, Mr. Height, they do anything that we ask. If it's caving down a 3 technique, pulling and kicking an end, pulling, kicking a corner, pulling around, sealing off a linebacker. They had a blast doing it. And I would pause film several times, and this young man would be just vertical, fixing to lay somebody out. And talk about fully sacrificing the body. That's what this young man did. I was sitting thinking, and I know my calculations aren't right, but I figure that, thinking? Yeah, did I throw you off? I was thinking. Oh, horizontally. I don't teach math, he does. Hey, 4 of them got it. Wish it was a joke, but I said it wrong. Yeah, I'm glad you're perfect. Okay, so now going to my math that I'm not good at. I was figuring somewhere between 12, 14 hours a week we get to spend with these guys just on the field, not counting the athletic period, but games, and I know it's more than that. But long story short, I've got a 2.5-year-old that I get to see maybe 6 hours a week. So you guys become our kiddos while we're here, and we love you and we'll do anything for you, and I'm glad that we got to spend this time with you guys. So to the Chris family, I thank you for letting this young man come and play for us, and it's my privilege to announce first team all-district lineman, Joseph Chris.
Both the Height boys also got, but they're not here, so we're going to pass on. Our next recipient is kind of a blessing. I got sick to my stomach. I looked over my shoulder in the Bernie game, and Jacob Foster's over there giving me the thumbs down. But Devin comes in. He does a terrific job, and he fills in that position. So much so that we're in our meeting. 2 of the coaches in the district griped, like, what the heck? You got another dude that big? And here he is. He did a great job. And not only until Jacob got back, but his being there and understanding what we were doing allowed us to do a lot of things and really diversify in the playoffs and do some things. So second team all-district, Devin Cordell. Josh, make sure he finds the weight room every day. He's under your charge.
You know mine's a hug? Huh? You know mine's a
So I get to work with the swingmen and the strong ends, which in our offense is basically a glorified extra lineman most of the time. This guy, though, he had a way, kind of like Coach Means was talking about with Trenton on defense. JT on offense, he would see stuff, and he would come to the sideline, and we'd hear him. I'd hear him on the headsets through Coach Moses' headset when he was talking to him, and usually when he said something, it was right. We could throw the pass and it'd be open, and he kind of became the security blanket for Ben a lot of times. If we needed 5 or 6 yards on a third down and we wanted to throw a pass, he was the guy that we were looking for to throw the pass, and he's done a great job. And it's tough when you're a coach's son. It's tougher than anybody else, because he's always got somebody looking at him and getting on him. And then I don't know how he has the energy. We were talking about it in the field house today, how many things he does and maintains his grades and does all these sports and going to basketball, baseball. I don't know how you could do it, and we're proud of you that you're up here and that you're doing that, and glad to have you back next year. And JT Green is first team tight end, all district.
All right, on to special teams. Actually, I got over here thinking, I praised that senior class, and I got to take some back. I'm 42 years old, and the cops have only shown up in my house one time, and it was y'all's fault. Luckily, we had St. John, and he's cool, calm, and collected with the police, so he handled that for us. He was actually a nervous wreck. We didn't do anything wrong. It was somebody else's fault, I promise. All right, so our next recipient kind of took a sabbatical from football for a year, and he came back with us for his senior year. And he understood coming back he's going to kind of be behind the curve. But he worked his butt off and fought for any rep that we had, and we had a bunch of special teams reps for him. And there's not a whole lot of praise that goes with special teams. Most people go get drinks during that time. The only time you get any attention is when it goes awry. But he didn't worry about all that. He just freaking buckled down, put his nose down, and did a great job for us. I'm proud of him. Braden Duke. It's all right. Good job, Ben. All right, one more. On most plays in football, guys, there's a bunch of things that can go wrong. So football, unlike, pitcher in baseball, the blame isn't always heaped on one man's shoulder, except if that one man's a kicker. Then it doesn't matter what happens, it must have been the kicker's fault. Trenton, he didn't crack under that pressure. In fact, he thrived under it, even as a sophomore, and then again as a junior. He did a great job for us. In my humble opinion, did better than everybody else in the district in our place kicking responsibilities. He's also a return man. It was a no-brainer when we put him up, and the district kind of voted for him without a doubt. What's really special, though, is that he's doing all that while he's also a full-time defender and a key contributor on offense. I'd like to tell you you're going to get some rest next year. We'll work it in, but no. You're going to play a whole bunch of football. Be ready. Trenton Lorette, first team all-district. Yeah.
Our last set of awards are as coaches we got together, and the first one is going to be as coaches our offensive MVP. Coach Moses is going to present that.
Selecting an offensive MVP with so many guys that have been around such a long time was difficult. We had a long conversation, but I think the person we chose, I don't think we had accomplished what we accomplished this year without him. Again, he's one of those guys that we just enjoy being around. If we gave him most improvement from freshman year to now, he would probably get that award too. He's a great leader. He commanded our offense to perfection at times. Made some mistakes. I got to yell at him some more. Like I said, he heard a lot of that, but he responded in a proper way. And again, we wouldn't have accomplished what we did offensively this year without him. Offensive MVP for 2017 is Ben Fulton.
All right, just like Coach Moses said, as a team defense, we had a lot of guys that we could have chose from. And just like Coach said, this young man really started to come along and have a significant role last year. And really, you probably couldn't recognize him as a freshman, as he is sitting here today. He really continued to work hard and caught a lot of our attention last year, and even outside of football, and made himself into a great football player. Just like Coach Hodges mentioned earlier, he led the team in tackles, 86. Guys, he had 24 tackles for loss. That's really significant. 8 sacks, one of them I remember against Bernie, second half. Huge sack. He gets around the tackle and really just killed any momentum that Bernie might have had. He caused one fumble, and like Coach mentioned, he had a huge pass breakup against Taylor at the end of the game and really sealed it. They were driving the ball. He tips the ball and made it difficult for them to score. We all felt like this young man deserved the district defensive MVP. We felt like as a staff that he was the most dominant defensive player in the district. Often when we work on the weekends, I want to know where we can line this young man up at their weaker side, their weaker tackle, because we're going to get pressure on the quarterback. And when we need pressure, we're going to send him. But he's going to receive tonight's team MVP, and that's Mr. Ross Snowden. Team defensive MVP.
Say defense?
Let's say team defense.
That's right.
Good job, bud. That was the team defensive MVP, Ross Snowden. All right, our last award is our team most valuable player. When I say valuable, I not only mean a great football player, which this individual is, and I'm not going to give you all the honors he's gotten over the 4 years, all district 3 straight years, all state honors. What's more important, he's been a 4-year starter. He's played over 40 football games, 40 varsity football games. There's not many people in the country that do that in their high school career. He's played in 7 playoff games. won 4 playoff games. And most of all, I've seen this young man develop as a freshman. We brought up, and I'm going to tell you a story. His dad, I met with his parents. He's the first freshman as a head coach I've ever moved up. We're fixed to play Wimberley. We're a little thin on the defensive line. And he's got the size, you know. I'm worried about, you know, I don't know him that well. You know, he's only been in school for about 5 weeks, something like that. You know, I call his parents for a little conference. You know, I don't know what to expect. You know, they're a little baby, and we're going to move him up to varsity. I'm talking to Mr. Foster, and you know, he's just asking me questions, calm and collected. You know, and I mentioned, you know, Wimberley's got a tackle over there, pretty good. They moved him up, and I mentioned his name. Mr. Foster goes, oh, never mind. We're all good. He's been kicking his rear end since Pee Wee football. So from then on, you know, Jacob was a starter for us, and more importantly, he's been a leader. Coach Green alluded to it earlier. On the field, off the field. He suffered through a few injuries this year. He was just as important to this football team off the field as he was on the field. And that's Jacob Foster.
What was it?
Jacob was basically our 12th coach out there. So with him graduating, I don't know if Mr. Hayes knows this yet or Coach Gombert, I'm asking to get a 12th coach for next year since we're losing one right there. Hey, lastly, I invite you, I think we have about 20 minutes left on the highlight thing, 15 to 20 minutes. Parents, like I mentioned before that I mentioned, make sure you grab those helmets. Players, make sure you take pictures with these gold balls. We doubled the amount of gold balls we had in that trophy case this year with the district, by district and area. You know, going to a lot of field houses, you know, schools have been around for a long time, especially during track meets. There's a lot of downtime. You go look in their trophy cases. Dang, they don't got any. They got 2. They've been here 50 years. You know, seniors, stand up. Seniors. You guys have set the bar. We talked about setting the bar as high as you possibly could. I know we wanted to go farther, but you have set the bar, doubling the gold footballs. You know, 10 victories. The most competitive class I've been around. And another little story, sorry, Mr. Crisp, I mentioned both our conversations tonight. I think this happened, you know, they were freshmen. We knew, I knew, the coaches knew, this is going to be our group if we don't screw it up. We moved them up to the varsity period in between their freshman, or during their freshman year, after the football season. We started competitions days, you know, alluded to Bull Moose. And these guys, we had to change the way we did that. And the story is we had a thing, what's that one called? Rooster fight, where we put their thing in there, they grabbed that and they tried to knock each other down. Well, our kids, and in particular, Sam Shepard and Joseph Crisp, they proceeded to start jabbing each other with their elbows. And you know, they're getting, I mean, it's an even deal. I mean, they're getting after it. Joseph starts bleeding a little bit. You know, I'm like, man, you need to go to the trainer. Joseph looks at me like, I don't want to go to the trainer. You know, I want to continue. No, you're going to the trainer. Well, to make a long story short, that night, I think it was a Friday, I'm out on my porch. I get a call. It's Mr. Crisp. I'm not talking to, you know, don't know him that well. He's a freshman. And I'm like, oh God. Mr. Crisp gets on the phone and says, you know, I heard you had a little incident. Yeah, Mr. Crisp, you know, we're going to change the way we do that drill. I'm backtracking. You know, we sent him straight to the trainer, did this, did that. And he goes, no, Coach Drum, hell, I don't mind that. What I'm PO'd about is you didn't allow Joseph to stay out there and hit his butt back. And that just summed up this class. We had some bloody battles out there, and a lot of them started for 3 years for us. And I just want to thank y'all. You know, people say the young men in our society today don't have work ethic, don't have high standards, and all these coaches have mentioned that. And as you can tell, these coaches not only love this team, but love this group. And we're going to miss you. And you know, there's, you know, Jacob's going to go on to play football, maybe, one or two more of y'all if you choose to. But if you put what you put in the last 4 years, you'll be successful, whether it's some of y'all are going to the military, the workforce, college, when you get married, become a dad. Just go back to boot camp. The finish on our t-shirts. You will be fine. You will be fine. And I can't wait. Hopefully I'm still around here or still alive when you have your school reunions, because I'm envious. I didn't have a good senior year, in football in high school. Y'all are going to tell stories. I'm sure they'll get larger and larger. Y'all come back to your school reunions, but you always come back. Go look at the gold balls. Talk about the district championship. So many memories were made this year, and I'm proud of you. And just one last hand for the class. I guess it's the class of 2018, Canyon Lake football seniors.